In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about ball striking, and this video has been prompted because recently I've had a couple of golfers come for lessons struggling with ball striking and both making exactly the same problem. So I thought this video would help lots of you out as well, particularly if you've noticed that you're not getting the most out of your irons. Now, quite simply, what was happening with a couple of the students was they had typical traits where in the backswing position, they were sort of moving off the golf ball and the head was moving too much over towards the trail side. The problem with this is, one, obviously you're moving off the ball, which is going to create a problem of its own. But the bigger problem is it also affects your functionality, right? So if I sort of move too much this way, well then as I lift my arms up, it's anatomically very difficult to lift my arms up. So what then happens is your arms bend too much, and then you end up with this sort of funny looking arm position, and then you can't sequence your downswing. And all of this is happening because of the fact that you're moving your head too much in the backswing position. So you want to make sure this problem isn't you and you're not making this type of issue. The good thing is that it's pretty easy to rectify, particularly with the rotation. What I did with the students in mind is simply just put the club across your shoulders, and literally just in your own reflection, you could do this at home. You just want to try and concentrate on keeping your head nice and still as you trigger a nice rotation. Okay, so now you can see my head stays still as I'm turning and I'm not moving this way. Now, what should happen if you're rotating correctly is you should probably feel a little bit more tilted. So again, the golfer in mind who moves off, shoulders get too flat, you start keeping your head still and you should start to feel your left shoulder dropping underneath your chin, and your shoulders and therefore your pelvis will be more tilted, which is the definition of a centralized rotation. Now, my last point really is to double check your rotation. But also what I found was really interesting with both the students is I always ask the question, what is it that they're trying to do that then prompts the movement? Because that's what we all are. It's like we're all our own little story in our head. You know, if we have an idea of what we think we should be doing in the golf swing, that's going to influence how we move. And both of these golfers said that they were trying to move the weight in towards the trail leg, which I thought was interesting. And I think, again, you just want to double check that you don't fall under this narrative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Wedge Pro here as an example, and the idea of the Wedge Pro is I use it with all my lessons online and face-to-face, and it's brilliant, and I'll explain why. Because in the concept is, as we sort of swing into the backswing position, we want to have weight pressure underneath our trail leg, like so, right? My weight pressure is underneath my trail leg, but what we don't want to do is we don't want to shift the center of our whole body over the trail leg, because the problem is now I'm stuck. The only way I can get off this is to go up. You see, and this is what the golfers are doing. You move this way, you can't function your arms, you obviously move off the ball, but the problem is when you come into the hit, you can't go down, you have to go up. Whilst what you're looking to do is trigger a nice rotation, like so, I'm still mindful that my weight is on my trail leg, but it's the difference between this is like I'm squashed and I'm stuck. See, from here, I'm more like up. And then from there, you see, now I can go down. And if I can go more up on my backswing to down in my downswing, that's going to lend itself to much better ball striking, which is a key function that you have to make sure that you are getting right each and every time. So, to summarize, what you want to practice in its pure simplicity is a nice rotation whilst keeping your head nice and still. But what you've also got to do is you have to make sure you shift your weight towards that trail leg. Perfectly fine. You can practice that. See, my weight's in my trail leg, my weight's in my lead leg, trail leg. So you just have to experiment. That's not as big a shift as you potentially think. Now, what you also want to be doing is you want to make sure in this backswing position you feel like you have produced an element of extension. So from here, you can move down. Transitioning this way is going to be much easier to trigger out a nice rotation and move through the ball. If you move too much this way, you're just going to get massively stuck, and if you're going down, you're going to go up. If you can go feeling more up, then you're going to go down. So I would really practice the drill, practice being a little bit mindful of where your weight pressure is, and then just sort of play around with, okay, what was Russ saying? Maybe if I felt a little bit more up, oh yeah, okay, I feel a little bit lighter, now I can move down. And that's going to make a big, big difference for lots of you, particularly if you're noticing that you're either losing distance or your ball striking has gone quite poor over recent time. Let me know how you're getting on.